everyone, welcome back. And today we are gonna talk about something I think which is personal to me, but I think a lot of people could relate. And that is, I think, somewhere along the line as you grow up, reading good books becomes the standard of intelligence. If you're reading interesting books, if you're reading basically non-fiction books, you're intelligent and you're learning that way. But I am not a reader. I don't think any of the I think there's only one book I've read out of this entire thing, that is this one. And all others I've skimmed through. And I am not a reader. And I have for the longest time I have been hard on myself and tried to force myself to read. There have been, I remember, at least 10 years of New Year resolutions, or me just trying to read. I've purchased books and I've really, really tried to read. And one thing I've realized is that I am not a reader. And when I say that, I don't mean that I don't enjoy reading, but I don't upskill or I don't understand a lot when I read. Like, that's not how I learn. I don't retain a lot of information when I'm reading, and I retain a lot of information if I'm listening to something or I'm watching something. So, example, something like audiobook still works for me. Something like a YouTube video, a YouTube summary, and even reels which are educational work for me because I'm able to retain that information. But books have not. And I think a lot of people have this, that they do not retain what they read, but they've not maybe acknowledged it or realized it. So if you're watching this, I think if there's any last book you read, any last article that you read, think about it, how much of it has actually retained for you. And if there are any recent YouTube vlogs or any YouTube video that you've seen, try to see how much of that has actually retained for you. And if the latter is more, then maybe that's how you start consuming most of your content in, especially if you're trying to upskill, trying to educate yourself, and again learn more, because I personally feel that's the way to go. So I was reading somewhere, and this is a stat, right? 70% of people in January this year, 2026, have said that they want to read more this year. So I think this is a statistical website that shared about this. And when I went through the stat, I realized that I am glad that this year again, I'm not the one who wants to make that resolution again, or who wants to force myself into reading again. Because for multiple years, I've forced myself into reading. And not only force myself, I've tried to purchase books, I've tried to download ebooks, I've bought Kindle, I've done everything, and I just never really liked it. And now I've made peace with it. I go for audiobooks, I mostly go for YouTube. So like, YouTube is my primary source of consuming content. There are multiple great channels who post amazing educational content. Because for me, visuals and audios together is what matters. Having that movement on screen and someone explaining what they're building, someone explaining what they're talking about, someone explaining and showing. So all of those things really matter, which is one of the reasons why I thought, okay, I can do YouTube, because I think I consume a lot of YouTube, so I could also probably help with that. But that has just been something about me. And which is, I want to talk about how learning styles differ. Like, basically, even in school, I remember for my history classes, and history used to be, especially in third, fourth standard, when I was studying history, it used to be a lot of learning dates, learning what happened, who was involved, etc., right? And I would of course try to read books, but that never worked out for me. So I remember my mom suggested this, that you read the entire textbook or entire chapter and record it as an audio in your, I had like that, oh yeah, you call it iPod. So I had an iPod. So she was like that you can record it. Back then there was an iPod 5 that looked like a phone basically. So you could record in that. And I would record my entire history chapters, my entire Hindi and English chapters, everything. And then I would keep listening to them. That's literally how I studied as a kid also. And then eventually I just forgot about it. And then for the last few years, I kept on forcing myself to read books. But I've just made my peace that that's not how I learn. And I think a lot of people who've not gotten this clarity need to spend time on understanding what is your learning style, because that's something you have to make peace with. Because I think learning and forcing yourself to learn backfires, because one, it creates a guilt when you're not doing it because you're not enjoying it. Second, there will always be inconsistency, which keeps you feel that okay, I'm not consistent with what I want to learn. And third is you're not retaining a lot, so it's sort of a fake productivity because you're reading pages but nothing is really landing. Closing thought is that you don't need to become a reader to learn more. You just have to be honest with how your mind works. And just before ending the video, there are some questions I wanted to leave you all with to think about if you've come till here, which is, what is the last time you retained what you actually read? What format of content consumption do you naturally gravitate towards when you're curious? Do you remember more from your last book or your last video? And are you learning or just consuming? These are just, again, questions that you can spend time on thinking, and I think it will help you understand your learning style and then choose how you want to continue learning more. I hope you had fun. Bye.